the emergency contraceptive pill, and their parents could be none the wiser about it. Now, the age limit has been lowered, they say, to help reduce the number of teenage pregnancies, but it has divided the panel somewhat today. Jameela, because I asked you this morning, immediately thought of you, 2 young daughters.
Yes.
So what do you make of that, if you thought they were going to get this without your consent or knowledge?
I'm completely against it. I think at the end of the day that we have the law for a reason, and teenagers are not emotionally ready for sex before the age of 16, which is why we have the law. So why are we contradicting ourselves by providing them with contraception? It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, I think what they're saying is, yes, there is an age of consent, and obviously, particularly with your daughters, you should be talking to them about, don't feel pressured to do that before the age of 16. However, the sad fact of life is some do. Some do have sex before 16, and some of them make a mistake and get pregnant.
In the same way, some children smoke before the age of 16. We're not selling them cigarettes, and I'm sorry, but the emotional effects associated with having underage sex are far worse than those of smoking a cigarette. I just don't understand why.
What about the emotional effect of having a baby if you were 13 or 14?
Well, this is what I'm saying. Those effects are much more. So it's that, maybe it's education, maybe it's being a bit more vigilant about it, but not providing them with contraception, particularly contraceptives that are there because of unprotected sex as well. So the fact that it's unprotected,
So
at the age of 14, you are not going to be in a long-term relationship, so you shouldn't be having unprotected sex at all.
In a perfect world, that's exactly what it should be like, but we don't live in a perfect world. So hypothetically, if your daughter came to you at 14, 15 and said, Mom, I did have sex last night and we didn't use protection.
Obviously, I'd be completely horrified, but
what would you do?
Well, okay, but this is without my consent. This is with so yes, I would probably opt for that option, but this is without my consent. So I would like her to be forced into a situation to have to come and have that conversation with me. Therefore, we have to have the conversation. This takes the parents out of the equation, and that's not right.
Emma actually agrees with you. Well, she says she actually thinks it should be available to under 16s, but only if the parents have to sign for them to receive it. I wouldn't want my daughter taking something like this behind my back, and I'd want to know if she was having sex under the legal age limit, so that I could do something about it.
The number of teenage pregnancies is actually going down, and the number of women who are opting for abortions, the age group that is the largest, is 25 to 29, and that's gone up a vast amount, 20% over the last
career women, aren't they?
Yeah, career women who don't want to lose their jobs or take time off from work. So they're the people having abortions. The number of teenagers who are having abortions is actually declining, and the number of abortions overall is the lowest it's ever been for 16 years. And I think with this pill, I wish it had been around when I was a teenager, because obviously I had unprotected sex and I ended up having not 1 but 2 abortions. And I just would not wish that on anyone. And the only thing that bothers me about this is that you're supposed to go into a pharmacy and have a chat with a pharmacist about it. And I think that's, that's quite tough on a 14 or 15-year-old.
Well, they shouldn't be laying down with anyone. They're not ready to be having sex.
And you can say that, there'll always be, as Colleen has said, there'll always be kids who are doing it, and you've just got to make it easy for them to deal with the aftermath. And the problem is, this pill is nearly £35.
Yeah, well, that's when I saw that, I thought, well, where would they get the money? If you haven't told your parents or your guardian, where are you going to get 35 quid? But Joy has contacted us, and she said, I work in a pharmacy. At the end of the day, you can't stop underage girls from having sex. They've been doing it for years, but we do need to try and educate them into using contraception and making sure that more people are charged if they have sex with a minor. That's a whole other subject. She says, what annoys me is the women that use the morning after pill as a contraceptive. We certainly have regulars, she says, who come in time after time, and that happens quite a lot. But and also the name. What do you think of the name? It's called Ella One, which I thought sounded like a kind of pop group or something.
I think it's been chosen because it sounds like a tampon. Because when I left school, I think the reason why is you can go and stand in a queue at the chemist and ask for it and not feel embarrassed. Because I know that when I had a Saturday job working in a chemist, people were absolutely terrified to ask for contraceptives.
Well, if you're worried about it, if you're not ready to have sex, if you are embarrassed about asking for a contraceptive, you are not ready to have sex. Simple as, I don't care.
But even when I
I'm
was
just
ready to have
so-
sex, I was still embarrassed going in and asking for contraceptives. You still go in and go, I'll just take these, thanks.
Yeah, no, but you
buy something you don't need.
But you wouldn't now.
Well, no, because I'm 50,
Because-
I don't
no,
care.
no, but-
I'm going in and
They shouldn't have sex anymore.
What?
But it's, at least it says, you know, the morning after pill should be available when they ask for it, because they've already made that mistake,
Yes.
and this shouldn't be compounded by an unwanted pregnancy or possibly an abortion, which she thinks is even worse.